Today we're going to dive into a debate that's about 2,500 years old. But honestly, it feels like it could have happened yesterday. It's this incredible masterclass in how you can totally take apart a rigid social system, not with force, but by cleverly reframing just one single word. So, let's get right into it.
Okay, let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of this whole thing. And this question is for you, right now. Is your value fixed at birth? Is who you are, all your potential, your worth, is that all decided the second you're born? Or is it something you get to create? Just hold on to that thought, because that's exactly what we're talking about today.
All right, so our story kicks off when this Brahmin, a man from the highest priestly caste, his name's Esukārī, he goes up to the Buddha. And get this, he's not there to ask a question. Nope, he's there to basically state a fact. He just lays out the whole social order as he sees it, a world where everyone has a role, it's all defined, and you can't change it.
So Esukārī's logic is pretty interesting. He basically says that service is a one-way street. Think about it. Everyone is supposed to serve a Brahmin. The warriors? Well, they can be served by the two classes below them. The merchants? Just the one class below them. But the Sutta, the laborer at the very bottom, they can only be served by another Sutta. So you see how that works? Service always flows up the ladder, but it never, ever trickles down to the bottom. For him, that's just how the world works. It's rigid, it's a hierarchy, and it's all based on who your parents were.
Now, instead of getting into a big argument, picking apart the system point by point, the Buddha does something, well, just brilliant. He goes right for the foundation that the whole thing is built on. He zooms in on that one single word that holds it all together, the Pali word for service.
So that word is parikariya. Now, on the surface, its meaning seems pretty straightforward, right? If you look it up in a dictionary, you'll see translations like service or attendance, and that's exactly the definition Esukārī is running with. One that's all about duty and, well, serving your superiors.
But the Buddha, he was a master of language, so he looks deeper. He doesn't just hear the word, he sees how it's built, its hidden parts. He's about to do this kind of linguistic judo move and show everyone that the real meaning is way more dynamic and personal than anyone thought.
And here is the big reveal. The Buddha just breaks the word down into its roots. You've got pari, which means around, and kar, which means to move or to walk. So all of a sudden, parikariyaya isn't about serving someone like a servant. It's literally about how you move around them. It's about who you hang out with, who you choose to have in your orbit. It completely changes the game from being about subservience to being about who you associate with. So, with this new definition in hand, the Buddha asks this just devastatingly simple question. He asks Esukārī, but he's really asking all of us. Okay, when you choose who to move around with, does being in their company make you a better person or a worse one? And just like that, boom, the whole reason for who you should hang out with isn't your birthright anymore. It's all about personal growth. So you see what happened? It's a total flip. The old system was all about the fixed label you got when you were born, but the Buddha just throws that out and replaces it with this new, dynamic standard, benefit. Who cares who their parents were? The only thing that matters is this. Does being in their orbit actually help you become a better person?
So what does he mean by benefit? Well, the Buddha gets really specific here. It's not about getting more money or more power. Nope. It's about growing these 5 internal qualities. Things like your faith, your sense of morality, what you're learning, your generosity, and your wisdom. And here's the kicker. These are things that anyone, from any social class, can work on and develop. Okay, so you can imagine Esukārī is probably feeling a little shaky right now. His whole argument about service is just crumbling. It's been completely turned on its head. So what does he do? He pivots. He tries a totally new angle, and he shifts the debate from social roles to another huge pillar of the caste system, what wealth actually means. His argument is that every caste has its own kind of wealth, and it's symbolized by the tools they use. So for the Brahmin, the priest, their wealth is the begging bowl. It represents a life dedicated to spiritual things, supported by everyone else.
Then you have the Khattiya, the warrior. Their wealth, the bow and quiver. Their whole identity, their value to society is all tied up in their ability to fight and protect.
For the Vessa, the merchants and farmers, their wealth is the stuff they use to produce things. The plow, the cattle. Their worth is all about growing crops and making goods.
And finally, down at the bottom, the Sutta, the laborer. Their wealth is the sickle and the carrying pole, the most basic tools for manual work. And Esukārī's point is, if you reject these tools, you're rejecting who you are and your rightful place in the world.
But again, the Buddha just completely reframes the whole idea. He's like, yeah, you're right. Everyone has their own wealth, but it has nothing to do with the tools they carry. He says a person's true wealth is the Dhamma, the understanding of truth, the path of wisdom. It's a treasure you find inside yourself, and it's available to absolutely everyone, no matter what their job is.
And to really land the final point, to make it absolutely undeniable, the Buddha uses this powerful analogy that's just impossible to argue with. He doesn't get all philosophical. He uses something simple, something everyone understands on a deep level. Fire.
He sets up this little thought experiment. He says, imagine you take some wood from really fancy, high-class trees, like fragrant sandalwood. But then you also grab some wood from the most humble, lowly sources you can think of, like a busted old dog's trough or a pig's trough.
Then he asks the killer question. If you light a fire with that noble wood, and you light another fire with the lowly wood, is one of those fires going to be better? Is the flame from the sandalwood going to be brighter, or give off more light than the fire from the dog's trough? And of course, Esukārī has to admit the obvious truth. No, fire is fire. It doesn't matter what you use to start it. Its nature is to be bright, to give off light, to be useful. It's always the same.
And this is where this ancient conversation stops being a story and becomes about us, right now. Because the Buddhist parable, it isn't really about wood and fire. It's about human potential. It's about your potential.
So here's the ultimate takeaway, the big lesson here. Your worth has nothing to do with where you came from, who your family is, or your social status. That's just the fuel. Your real worth, that's the quality of the fire you create. It's defined by what you do, by your kindness, by your wisdom, things that have nothing to do with the label society tries to stick on you.
In the end, the Buddha's argument just completely demolishes the whole idea of a fixed identity. It tells us that our background, whether it's privileged or poor, whether we come from a celebrated family or one nobody's ever heard of, that's just the starting material. It's the fuel. The only question that really matters is the one he leaves us with. Your background is the fuel, so how bright are you going to burn?